So Donald Trump claims that he has $10 billion. I estimate, based on what is in the news, that he has less than $1 billion. That's why I call him the supposed billionaire Donald Trump. And now I have even more evidence on my side. Crain's New York Business did a wonderful piece about the taxes that Trump pays in New York. Let me tell you what that's about. They say the presumptive GOP presidential nominee's latest property tax bill shows he was awarded a credit under the STAR program, or the New York State School Tax Relief Program. To be eligible for STAR, a married couple must have an annual income of $500,000 or less. So, Donald Trump, which one is it? Do you have $10 billion, or your income is under $500,000? Now, income and wealth are different, but if you've got $10 billion, trust me, your income's a little higher than $500,000 unless you are the world's worst investor. Which one is it, Donald Trump? And so, if you file this return, which you did for many years, as I'm about to explain, that means there's only one of two possibilities. One is you are enormously full of crap. You're not anywhere near as rich as you say you are. Or number two, you're committing fraud. Which one is it, Donald Trump? So let's give you more details. They explain here, you wouldn't think a guy as rich as Trump claims to be would qualify, but he has received the credit for several years, and records filed over the weekend with the city's Department of Finance shows he received a $304 STAR tax break for his Trump Tower penthouse. Now, here's what a guy worth $10 billion doesn't do. Worry about a $304 tax break. It wouldn't be worth 1 minute of your time to even think about that, let alone to tell your accountant to fill out that form. If forget the $10 billion, I mean, that is obviously preposterous. If you had $1 billion, $300 is nothing. You would never waste your time on that, because the time you spent on it, you'd already have made so much more in interest. Do you have any idea how much $1 billion is? No, this guy isn't worth anything near what he says. In fact, reading more into it, I would be surprised if Donald Trump didn't go bankrupt again at a later time. Okay, so we'll see if that happens. But for the moment being, let's stick with what we have. The state defines income for STAR purposes as federal adjusted gross income minus the taxable amount of total distributions from annuities or individual retirement accounts. So I give you that quote because I need you to understand it's not like, oh, but this was just some local tax. And yeah, in that local area, New York City, he only made $500,000, but no, he made more in Florida. No, this is based on federal taxes. That's all of his income. All of your income was under $500,000 last year? Fascinating. The city's Department of Finance has said it checks New York State tax authorities every year to make sure applicants for the STAR benefit have income under $500,000. So we apparently double-checked this to make sure. Now, of course, that this story has embarrassed both New York government and Donald Trump, because this seems preposterous. They're both like, oh, it might have been a mistake. Yeah, we'll look into it. Can't really figure it out, but probably. We'll get back to you. So again, Crain's New York Business here with a very good job of reporting explains further. For what it's worth, Trump's accountant appears to be an expert in the STAR program. The accountant Donald Bender of the firm Weiser Mazars in 2013 posted an article on his LinkedIn page explaining some changes in STAR that required eligible recipients to re-register. So his accountant can't say like, STAR program, I never heard of it. Oh, I must have checked the wrong box year after year after year. No, he's an expert in the STAR program. He knew exactly what he was doing. In the immortal words of Marco Rubio, I want to dispel the notion that Donald Trump and his tax attorney didn't know what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. Okay, finally, they point out, to try to sort it out, in March, Crain's asked for copies of Trump's STAR applications under New York's Freedom of Information law, but after a 2-month search, the Department of Finance said that no documents could be found. Wait, let me get this right. You lost the questionable tax returns of the one guy running for president from New York City, the one guy who claims to have a fortune he appears not to have. That's the one return you lost. And that after searching for it, you can't find it. There's not only something very wrong with this whole story, there's something obviously very wrong about Donald Trump's claims of being wealthy, let alone a billionaire. There's also something wrong with New York's Department of Finance. What are you covering up here? I mean, there needs to be a lot more questions about this. What is Donald Trump actually claiming as his income? And does New York City support that, or does it not support that? Is there fraud involved if he's claiming he's got income under $500,000? Well, if he does, let's investigate that. Isn't that your job? It's not your job to tell us, oh, golly gee, I couldn't find probably the most famous person in New York City's taxes. Oh, sorry about that. No, that is not a good enough answer. But the bottom line is, yes, Donald Trump often speaks out of both sides of his mouth for purposes of fluffing himself up for marketing. He says he's incredibly wealthy. Whenever it comes to taxes, he says he's a pauper. The reality is he's not nearly as wealthy as he says he is. And when it comes to the IRS, he's probably not as poor as he says he is. Let's find out, because if you're the Department of Finance in New York City, that's your job to find out. Tell me what his actual income was. That ought to be interesting.